How are we, everyone? We are very happy. We're very lucky to have Richie with us. He played this morning. He opened the day, and I feel people really enjoyed it.
I hope.
From the people I've talked to, I didn't get to see it because I was here doing interviews. So bad on you. But I want Richie to tell me about it. How are you, Richie?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me. Thank you to everybody, Alteisa and everybody in Zamora for having me. It's been phenomenal. The experience was cool, man. It was very cool. I feel, even with the jet lag, I feel alive. I feel good. I feel energetic. And hopefully that was understood during the session. It was really fun. It was a lot of fun. And the environment here is super cool too, as well.
Right.
Yeah.
What have you noticed? What are your feelings? Like we are getting to the end of the festival.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about it?
It's magical. It is. It's magical. What I like is that this city, this town has like a very small vibe. And there are people visiting from all over the world.
Right.
That combination is very rare. And so when you get here and you perform as an artist, you're getting all the energy from people being around you with that sort of lifestyle, you know? So to me, it's been very enjoyable. I think it's been phenomenal seeing some of these other players. They're just great. The people have been, like I said, I cannot talk about the people and how hospitable they've been for me. I love Spain. The food is amazing. So the wine is good.
We cannot say what you had for lunch.
No,
right?
we cannot because it's
a secret.
Yeah. No, it's been great, man. I love it. It's great. I could talk for hours about the experience. For me, whenever I travel, and I'm fortunate enough to travel, I don't deserve it, but I do somehow. Somehow I travel. I enjoy being part of the culture, part of the town, part of the experience. I'm not picky when it comes to food or whatever. I just want to be involved in the moment. And this experience has been like to the 10th degree, experiencing all of the different aspects, you know? So for me, it's been phenomenal.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there any big surprise?
A few. Yeah, well, okay, so let's talk about drums for a second.
Okay, I don't mind that.
So it's super surprising. I'm a very simple person. I expect this much. I expect 0. I don't ever really ask for things. So the biggest surprise for me, number one, day one, was arriving and having my drums set up. Nobody has to do that.
Right.
You know, I can do it myself, but dude, that was amazing. That was a big surprise. Day one, the first thing you see, you get here, your drums are set up. There's a piece of paper with exactly the symbols that I use.
Right.
A picture of the setup from YouTube or wherever. Dude, amazing. So for me, that's the biggest surprise. Wow, you show up, you don't have to set anything up. Like I said, I don't expect anything. I gladly would have shown up and spent 3 hours setting up whatever. But to me, that was phenomenal. That was one of many amazing surprises. So, yeah, I thought that was great.
So no disappointments then?
No, not at all. The only disappointment is that I didn't get to play longer.
Right. Yeah. I guess. Yeah.
But that's selfish.
You think about it and it's like, oh, 1 hour. What am I going to do for 1 hour? And then it just goes like that.
Oh, dude. Yeah, and I'm all about being in the moment. So for me, yeah, an hour goes like nothing. Quick, I could do that for 3-4 hours. I love talking, you know? Right. So I love, or communicating and playing drums. It's what I live for. So to me, it's not even a task. It's not like, you know, it's not like a chore. It's fun.
Being in the moment, is that something that has always been there for you? Or is it something you've trained or?
That's a good question. I think part of growing up, and my life is pretty interesting in weird ways, but the experiences that I've had from early childhood to adulthood with my mentors, it has been extremely important to spend time being very aware of what you're doing. One of my good mentors growing up, he used to tell me, I've said this a lot, but he used to tell me, you need to play every show like it's your last. You're done. After this, you're gone. you're not on earth anymore. And I really do. Dude, I've been fortunate enough to play many shows. And there are, days when we don't feel good or maybe we're sick or whatever. But for me, even if I'm having a bad day, I've had bad days on the road. When I'm on stage, I'm doing something that so many people aspire to do and that I'm fortunate enough to do, that for me, living in the moment and being in the moment is just a part of part of who I am. Growing up from an early age, that was something that was very important for my mentors to tell me, hey, make sure that this show is like your last show. So mean it. And actually, this has helped me understand purpose a little more, being more purposeful, not wasting my life or time or getting frustrated, I'm in Spain, dude. I traveled from the US to Spain for what? To play drums. I'm playing drums. They're circles with skins and some metal thingies. That's cool to me. And so actually with your question about living in the moment, I think that it is a lot easier to live in the moment if you are being grateful. You and I met today, and I would not have met you if I would not have traveled here for drums. We can have conversations. I can experience the food, the drinks, even the water. You have to be very grateful for every moment. And if you get wrapped up in little dumb things, it takes away from your living in the moment, from your gratitude. Oh, but what's this? I don't have the right snare drum. It takes away from living in the moment. And then you're going to be frustrated and upset. Dude, who cares? Give me a box and I'll play the box. But it's an internal thing. And hopefully my goal is that whenever I play, that people see that somehow, I love to teach that too, or I try. So
many questions come to mind. I'm going to start with the first that came to mind.
Yeah.
You're big on intention and purpose.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's something that transpires into your drumming.
Sure. I hope so. Yeah.
How do you do that?
Well, okay. So that's a part of personality, right? Like your personality is very unique to you. So if you were to do anything, it would be a demonstration of who you are. I think one big mistake that drummers make is they try to be someone else. It's good to be influenced by X, Y, Z, whoever it is. But you are you. You have to be able to express yourself on the drums. And to me, at the very core of expression is being joyful.
Right.
And being grateful and happy and playing drums. I'm not, I've done hard work before, hard labor. I've worked in construction and done all kinds of stuff. And it's like, oh man, my sweat is not sweat of, I have to go to this job because if not, I won't have food, which that's a lot of people. My sweat is I'm hitting things. So I really, 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 really try to remind myself every moment that, that's what I'm experiencing. So hopefully, whenever the purposefulness that I like to utilize or try to utilize and express, I think that comes from being aware, firstly, and also spending time doing things that really matter to you, that are not just random. But too many young drummers, they spend a lot of time on YouTube and they want to see a million drummers and they get distracted. Next video. And they don't spend time in the room being themselves. They play to their favorite bands, but they never play just themselves being themselves. Here in Zamora, yesterday there was like a little parade or a little event, something about Festival of the Masks, something similar. And it was cool because there were people playing drums, traditional drums. And I can bet you that most of the people that were playing were not even drummers. They just felt and understood the rhythm and played together. It was part of a parade. And so drumming is a very innate thing. So for us to be purposeful is simply being aware of what we're doing, not random, and also expressing what happens on the inside. When dude, If we work out, we listen to energetic music. When we're sad, sometimes we listen to sad music. Music is interesting. Playing is interesting. And if you have a disconnect between purpose and playing, why are you playing? What are you doing? You're wasting your time.
Right.
Right?
But how do you train that though?
I think
because it can be difficult.
Sure. One of the biggest things is if you want to be technical, and this is something that I do, if you want to be technical in your purpose, anytime you touch a pair of sticks, make sure you're doing something focused. Today, I'm going to work on flams. Today, I'm going to work on timing. Today, I'm going to work on jazz. But be very purposeful. A lot of drummers get lost. That's why I brought up the YouTube thing. So many different videos. Get distracted. No. Today, an hour, I'm going to work on flams. Because what you're doing is you're training yourself to know what you're doing. Oh, my flams, for example, my flams are, they're too open. That's not very purposeful. I mean, you can do that on a floor tom and a snare, but traditionally speaking, a flam is.
Right.
And so little details about that. When you bake a cake, if you don't think about the ingredients that go into baking a cake, you're going to have trash. Sometimes maybe if you're lucky, you come up with something good, but that is the exception, not the rule.
Right.
Why is it that whenever we do anything else in life, we think about it and we do it with purpose, but with drumming, it's like, I don't know, man, I just play. I don't know, man, I just do. That's okay, then why are you here? That's for yourself. If you say something like, I don't know, dude, I just play, then you're doing it for yourself, which, yes, we all do. But for me, music is a sharing aspect. It's like having wine or having coffee with a friend. You open your best bottle. You prepare your best coffee. And when we drum and we're trying to be purposeful, we have to be so aware of the details that it allows us to be free. Because think about this, dude. If I'm playing flams, let's be really, really technical for the drummers. If I'm playing flams, tra, 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 and I'm thinking about the flams, it's not second nature. So when I go to play a groove, boom, da, tikum, da, tikum, da, tikum, da, gra, 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 I'm either going to sound like a robot or it's going to feel good. So purposefulness is practiced through being aware of what you're doing and knowing what you're doing. And then you become free and it just happens. So I know that's a long answer, but there's so many details. Dude, we can talk about this for days.
I mean, long answers is what I want. So I talk less.
Yeah, right.
Fine by me.
But that's what, it's a great question because it is a very purpose-driven question. How do we work on purposefulness? Okay, first of all, you have to know what you're doing. What are you working on? Okay, today I'm working on Latin grooves. Okay, play them correctly first. Look, all of the other fancy stuff that goes on top, I love fancy. I play in a prog metal band. But the fancy stuff on top is just extra. It's a manipulation and an addition to the foundation. But if I make you a cake, okay, and it looks beautiful and is decorated beautifully, but on the inside is like my family would say pura caca, then it's not a cake, dude. It's just dressed up.
There you go.
So it's got to be purposeful first, and then you add on top the layers. It has to be.
Man, if someone thinks cooking is hard, then baking is just next level.
It is. Dude, there's a show called The Great British Baking Show. Have you seen it?
I know.
So great. I love it. It's cool because you get to see in the moment all the details that happen. And on time crunch.
Right. It's just stressful to watch.
It's stressful to watch. It's make or break. Make or bake.
Make or bake.
Yeah.
There you go. That's a cool name.
Make or bake right there. We need shirts. Yeah.
So, I've got a lot of questions. Because of the band, some people might know you from playing prog metal.
Sure.
Is that something that you like, being, framed in that?
No, I hate it.
Being known for that?
Well, known for that is one thing, but being put in a box, I despise. Mm-hmm. Now people are going to know how to get me on the internet.
Right.
Two things. You want to know how to make me upset?
Right.
Spell my name with a T.
Rich.
Yeah, if you spell my name with a T, it's over. We're fighting. I'm putting in the mouth guard and we're going in. Or putting me in a box. And that's if I'm being very honest, for everyone, I think that's a very it can be a very prideful thing. No. I that's not what I do. You don't know me. But in reality, it's a blessing too, because I'm grateful that anyone on earth would ever even care to take the time to learn about what I do, maybe, right? That's really cool. You listen to my band, and so you know me through the band. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. But there's so many things involved in what I do that is so much more than my band. But that's cool because it's an opportunity for teaching and for my life story or whatever the case is. So yes, I don't like boxes in general. Like, as a matter of fact, technically Arch Echo is a progressive metal band. But dude, I don't ever tell anyone I play progressive metal because to me it's just like loud fusion, you know? Mm-hmm. To be a progressive band, you have to constantly desire to grow, correct? Yeah. And if we put progressive music in the same camp that we do with jazz, what do we do with jazz nowadays? This is jazz, I'll show you. A lot of cats do this. Ding, zing, da ding, zing, da ding, zing, da ding, ding, da ding, zing, da ding. But dude, the godfathers of jazz, they were looking to push the envelope. They were looking to push and progress and grow. And it's in the title, progressive metal. What are you going to stay? You're going to try to copy bands from 70 years ago? I'm sorry, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, whatever the case is. So for me, being in a prog metal band, it's already a box, but I love expressing myself. Like, dude, I played a freaking Rosalia song. You know how many drummers are like, why are you doing that? I wanted to teach that as a drummer, you have to be diverse enough to be able to fit a song that is not your vibe. You know, now I can't play traditional African rhythms, or I can't play salsa and merengue. I would be horrible. But to some extent, learn about diversity and growing so that you put yourself in a position where you're more successful. So putting oneself in a box, I'm a rock drummer, I'm a pop drummer, I'm a jazz drummer. Mm-hmm. Bro, from the start, you're losing. You're a drummer, you're a musician. You're a musician. You're not a rock drummer or whatever. Everybody else wants to call me that. That's fine. But for me, I know that there's some sazon that's involved that you can't just do from doing one thing.
Even framing yourself just as a musician, that's already a box. It's a big box.
Yeah, it's a big box, but it's still a box. It's still a box. Which is why, dude, that's really interesting because for me, like on my social media, I don't just share drum stuff or music stuff. You know, I share my life. I share my passion for coffee. Mm-hmm. My passion for watches, my passion for MMA, my children, you know, my family, my wife, mm-hmm. all that stuff is part of who I am. It affects how I think. It affects how I express.
It's part of you.
Right? It's part of me. So, like, you have to make the box bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger because we all live in some kind of box. But you have to expand it, I think, to be able to have true growth and diversity. And when I say diversity, I mean it in like the traditional sense of the word, right? Like actually diverse, not like forcing diversity. Like I am an experience of all these countless things. And so I'm allowing myself to put myself in uncomfortable positions mm-hmm. that force me to grow. I suck at, you know, XYZ. Okay, well, try that just for a little bit, you know? And I always use mixed martial arts as an example of drumming because in mixed martial arts, if someone throws a right hand, but after they drop it, that's a hole in your game. Someone's going to expose that and they're going to counter you. Drummers don't do that, but they should. You know, if I play my China and I'm playing double bass and I notice that I lean back, well, that's because I don't have a strong core and that's a hole. And you either fix it or you're always going to have that methodology that doesn't allow you to expand. And then you don't get comfortable and then you'll never really be good at double bass mm-hmm. or flams or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
So that's a long answer, like I said, but these things are very intentional. They have to be. You have to be intentional.
Can you give me an example of sometime that you put yourself in an uncomfortable space in order to grow?
Yeah, I did today. Like, I prepared songs from my band to play, mm-hmm. but I told myself, I'm just gonna be in the moment. What happens, happens. Now, time out before I finish that. There's a difference between what happens because you don't care and what happens because you've been so prepared that you feel confident. Mm-hmm. Okay? So when I came here, I had ideas of what I wanted to do. Bro, what I talked about, they were like none of the ideas that I had prepared in my mind. It was just a moment. It was a matter of the moment. Things that I wanted to share with the crowd. Those people are very different than people I would have met in, I don't know, Paris or in Nashville or anywhere. To be able to like feel the moment and experience and then go with it, right? So for me, that was literally today something that I did that is a kind of a derivative of that mentality, right? But you have to be confident in yourself. You know what's interesting? Nervousness. A lot of people ask me about like nerves. Do you get nervous? I can honestly tell you no. I don't get nervous. I get super amped and excited because I'm playing drums. But I will tell you that nervousness happens whenever there's a fear of something, fear of messing up or looking like a goofball, or you haven't prepared enough and you lack confidence. And those actually walk hand in hand, because if you're prepared and you've studied for your life or whatever, you have built confidence, well, then what's the worst that can happen? Are you going to ruin the song? No, you know the parts. You know what happens. What's the worst that can happen? What happened to me today, my track failed. It did something really weird. But does it matter? No, it doesn't matter. Why? Because there's a space bar on the computer, and you press space bar, and it stops the music. And then what happens then? Do you freeze and do you cry and go home?
Okay.
No. You either say error or you don't say anything and you just play. I played a drum solo, and the drum solo probably sucked. But the concept is, dude, I can't, what am I going to stop and restart and try to figure it out and freak out? No. So what's the worst that can happen? Are people going to be like, that guy sucks and throw tomatoes? Most likely not, dude, right? So just go with the flow and move. Be like water. Like Bruce Lee used to say.
That's the thing.
You got to be malleable. You have to be. It's part of life, man.
Yeah, the other day I was playing a show, and I had to, most of the times I'm running tracks to Ableton for the band and
Beautiful.
everything. And we had to stop the tracks, the first song. I could have, probably some time ago, I would have that would have affected the rest of the performance for the rest, for the other half an hour. But why?
Yeah.
And what for? And that's not beneficial for any person in the audience, in the band. So just carry on. Then later you can worry about, okay, why did that happen?
Yeah.
How can we prevent that thing from happening again? But in the moment, that doesn't help me. So if any thought doesn't help me, then it's not worth thinking about.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, check this out, dude. Like, let's say, people watching or whatever, they play for a band and then their first track freaks out. I can guarantee you that if you stop and restart and you smash that track, no one's going to think about their concert was good, but the track messed up and they had to restart. No, you know what they're going to say? Not only did they have technical issues, but they destroyed. Those are very different worlds and very different approaches. Oh, they were good, but they had technical issues and they couldn't recover. Or not only did they have technical issues, but they still crushed the song. That's very different. So what are you going to do as a person? Are you going to accept failure, or are you going to be like, whatever, let's do it again?
Exactly.
That's it, dude. That's it.
One of my favorite shows I've seen, it was a girl on the guitar singing. That was it.
Yeah.
And it was the first gig she was touring. So she had done like a few shows, but like the first big tour, that was the first show. Small venue, people are like this close. And she fucked up like a few times. But she let like everyone into her chaotic show.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful.
Yeah, totally. Think about that, man. That's like an experience that cannot be recreated.
Exactly.
You know?
That's not gonna, I've seen her again later. That didn't happen, but that first one was really special just because of that.
Yeah, and you have that in your memories. You have an experience that no one else would have had. That's a thing, dude. That's sick. I remember when I saw ... and they screwed up, but then they came back. Or it's like a comedian. When a comedian gets heckled on stage and people are like, boo, and then they take that moment and they flip it, and then the crowd loves them. That's a professional. That's a professional. A professional doesn't crumble under pressure. A professional demonstrates the fact that they're masters under pressure. That's where you really find out about somebody.
And I think people have to pursue that, fight for that pressure to happen.
Yeah.
Because that's, you have to welcome it.
Yeah.
Because if you're put into like high pressure spaces and like opportunities, then that means someone trusts you to do that.
Yeah.
Like today I got trusted to do these.
Right.
It's high pressure for me, and I'm, I wouldn't say nervous. Like you just never know how it's going to happen if you've never done it before as such.
Yeah.
Because I do these interviews, but it's just over the internet.
Yeah.
FaceTime. It's super easy, and I've done like 60 of those. I could do 60 more, and I would never be like nervous about it.
Right.
Like this is a totally different game.
Yeah. It's a different experience.
Yeah. But I got trusted to do this, so like I'm very grateful for the opportunity.
Well, me too. You're doing a great job.
Wow. Let's see. What's
what happens next.
What's the next question?
Don't speak too soon. Yeah.
Right. So you mentioned sports.
Yeah, totally.
Big fan.
Yeah.
And you've mentioned in other interviews how you draw a lot of inspiration from that and how people should too.
Mm-hmm.
So can you tell me?
Oh, for sure. With this, I can talk about forever. So I will tell you a couple of things.
Football, not soccer.
No, it's football for sure.
There you go.
Soccer, what is that? Association football is what that stands for. Those Americans, man, they screw it up. The cool thing about sports, and depending on the sport, right? But the cool thing about sports is that they build a lot of discipline. They build a lot of discipline. I've experienced that a lot of musicians and drummers, because it's such an art form and art is subjective or whatever people like to say, there's like a lack of discipline. It's almost like a backdoor escape route, right? So there's a lot of discipline that is not visible in people. That's people in general. But athletes are a different breed because in athletics, right, you either score the goal or you miss. There is no, it's black and white, baby.
There you go.
You make it or you miss it. Okay. Now, there are aspects about music that obviously they're not black and white because it is artistic, an art form, right? But let me tell you this. Music has its black and its white. Otherwise, people wouldn't pay to go to a show. They wouldn't have a favorite genre. They wouldn't pay for lessons. They wouldn't pay for professional gear. They would not do anything that requires investing into quality. Why is it that we understand quality? Because quality exists, man. Quality exists. And defining quality and finding it and then eventually being able to demonstrate it are very, very important aspects. And athletes are very good at this. They know that, it's Champions League final. There is no 1-to-1. You go into overtime until somebody wins. 2-to-1, 3-to-1, 3-0, whatever, right? It's defined. You have to do this. All the stuff in the middle, whatever, dude.
Just win however you have to win. But
yeah, win however you have to win. And that's like the artistic form because in football, everything is quick and it doesn't stop and it happens. And so you have to demonstrate that you've prepared yourself so that you can score the goal and win the game. That is objective. That is your boom, right? Everything else in between, sometimes your coach calls out a play. Sometimes you just go with the flow.
Exactly, because you can never expect what's going to happen.
No.
You can prepare for what you're expecting to happen. But, there's a lot of improvisation in football.
There is
any sport, really.
Yeah, it's true. But it's specifically something like that or something like MMA. You just don't know. And so in drumming, I feel like a lot of drummers lack discipline because they think of themselves like they misunderstand art. I don't exist in the camp that art is purely subjective because then if that were the case, we'd never, like I already made my points for that. There is some subjectiveness to it because you're a different person than I am. The way that you express yourself is going to be different. Language is that, dude, So, and music is just another form of language, communication. But to use sports as an example, to study sports, to practice sports, and then move that mentality into drumming, you become a freak of nature in the way that you practice, in your perspective on gigs, in your perspective on studio sessions, in your perspective on teaching, and your perspective on learning. It changes everything. Learning to do striking, MMA striking, and Muay Thai and boxing and all that has taught me more about discipline in myself than many other things. It has affected my music and my drumming. I obsess over details. And in MMA, details are crucial because if you miss a detail and you drop your right hand, you're getting countered and it's going to cost you. And in MMA, it hurts. In drumming, it doesn't hurt. So high stakes.
Yeah. Well, I think about MMA or any fighting sport. you have to watch what the other person is doing
Yeah.
and react
Yeah.
to that. Or learn how to dictate what he's doing. So,
Sure.
So in music or in drums, I equate that to being able to listen.
Yeah, dude.
So if you
100%.
go into a match and you don't watch,
Yeah.
then you're probably going to lose and get hit very hard.
Yeah.
If you walk into a song and you don't hear, you don't listen, obviously it's not going to hurt you,
Yeah.
but you will probably won't be doing a good job.
It'll hurt your reputation.
Even though if you're playing a funk song and you've prepared like the best funk grooves, if you don't listen, then at the end of the day, you have to listen to what the arc of the song is and what the tempo is and
Totally.
the musicality. So if you don't listen for those, how are you gonna play it?
Yeah.
Even if you've mastered like every David Garibaldi groove
Yeah.
ever, like even if you play them better than him,
Mm-hmm. Which is not possible, but yeah.
not possible.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But you have to listen.
You have to listen. You have to be in the moment.
You cannot be like, oh, I just play, man.
You
I
can't.
don't know.
Because you know why? That's two things. It's very selfish
Mm-hmm.
and it's very unprofessional. Because now there are instances where it's like the song is the song is the song is the song and it's not going to change. But there are instances where you have to improvise. And if you don't know how to improvise, man, drummers are really uncomfortable with improv. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Like anybody can learn to play a song and copy the part. But when it comes to creating on the spot, to me, that is the pinnacle of the art form. Because it walks hand in hand with expression, right? It walks hand in hand with expression. Are people dancing? Oh, they're not dancing? Well, let's change the groove on the spot. You know? Like obviously there are certain things you don't dance to, you know? But if you're playing...
I mean, you play in a prog metal.
I don't know, who dances to a freaking prog metal band? We don't even have... I mean, people mosh. So,
yeah.
But it's not dancing at all. But dude, yeah, it's true. Like, are people dancing at the gig? No, they're not dancing. You better change the groove.
I wonder how YouTube is going to subtitle but people mosh.
Let's find out. What are people going to say to moshing? Well, moshing is interesting because it is moshing is only brought forth and can only exist if the emotion is brought. You know, that's an obvious statement, I know, but you don't see people moshing jazz. Why not? It's a different vibe. It's a different emotion. It's a different culture. It's a different everything.
I wish they would.
Dude, that'd be sick. Can you imagine? It's like those meme videos on the internet where you see people moshing and they put like some pop song on top of it or whatever.
Band memes 666. That's the best account.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look that up.
Oh, trust me.
Have you ever seen the? Oh, of course, I'm gonna forget it. It's like different artists. Oh, Shreds. The Shreds videos.
Shred it. That one?
No, that's a funny meme. He looks at the truck. He sees the truck. He's like, dude, shred it. No, there are videos on YouTube of bands, you know, like any famous band, and it's called Shred It. So like, for example, John Mayer Shred It. I don't think that exists, but that would be the concept. And it's someone that has overdubbed really bad performance on top of the video performance. So it looks and sounds like that band sucks. Dude, those are great. You have to see them. So hilarious. And, you know, that's what it reminds me of. But people don't mosh in jazz because, I don't know, the emotion doesn't exist. So if your breakdown isn't meaty and delicious, people are not really going to mosh. They're going to be like, oh, that band sucks. You know?
Even if you played it like note by note very well, that emotion is...
Right. Because there are levels, dude. You know, it's like what you play, how you play, and why you play. There are levels to it. It's the same thing with food. It's the same thing with everything else. You know, when someone makes you a dish with love, you can taste it, man. As opposed to like someone just makes you something. I don't care if it's a hot dog. If someone just makes a hot dog and here's your hot dog, leave me alone. And someone takes the time to make you a hot dog, bro, that hot dog will change your life. You know, y'all eat hot dogs here in Spain?
We do. We call it perritos calientes.
Perritos calientes, qué delicia. Yummy. My daughter, dude, one of my daughters, because I have multiple daughters.
How many do you have?
I have like 45 daughters. No, I have two daughters and a son. My son cannot speak because he's 7 months.
Right.
But my middle child, Liliana, she says, yummy for food. Papi más, yummy. So you just reminded me of that. You said perritos calientes, and I said, yummy. And it made me think of my daughter.
How old is she?
She is 2.
You've got 2, 7 months, and the eldest?
So 4, 2, 7 months.
How do you balance everything?
I don't. No. That's a very good question. Carefully. And I don't mean that facetiously. Very carefully. My wife is awesome. We're like a super team together. But it takes being purposeful with your time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I know that I only have an hour for the day and I go for the practice room to prepare for this drum fest and I have an hour, that hour is going to be a very focused hour. And the family knows, okay, you know, I'm working for an hour or whatever. And you have to be very aware of the moment always, especially with 3 kids, dude. With 3 kids and touring and doing sessions and teaching and traveling and all that stuff. And then don't even include like anything else in that. You have to be very aware. So it doesn't matter if you think you don't have time, you have time.
Especially with time, like every decision that you make in terms of what you spend your time on, you're also choosing what you're not spending your time on.
Yes, my man.
Time is money. So every hour that you're away from the kids, you're paying with that.
Yeah. That's a form of discrimination, but in the traditional sense of the word, like definitionally speaking. You have to discriminate against something other because you're not omnipresent. You cannot be everywhere at once. So you choose in that moment, I am not going to do that. That is taking a lesser priority. This is taking a higher priority. Does that mean that thing is less valuable? No. It just means that in that moment, something else took priority because of either the circumstance of the day or how your schedule works, whatever the case may be. You know, sometimes, I mean, this is a fact of the matter. I'm going to say something that is uncomfortable for people. But if you have a family and you have 3 kids and you go to the practice room, in that moment, you have prioritized your practice over your family. Does that mean your family is less important? No. It simply means that you have managed to understand prioritization depending on what you're dependent upon doing. Okay? If my children are crying like crazy and I'm playing drums and then I stop to go see what they're doing, in that moment, I have discriminated against my drums and I have determined that my children are priority. See, people misunderstand so many things in the modern world, unfortunately. And
they might have been motion.
Right.
Because you created that emotion.
Right. Yeah, right? It's like, dude, it's interesting. We can get very like meta if we wanted to, but
I'm fine with that.
These are all things that I think about, you know? These are all things that I think about because you have to be aware of what you're doing, of life, of things that happen. You have to be as aware as possible. We're human, so we are errant, and we're like, you know, we're gonna have error because it's the definition of a finite being. But you can do it as best as you can and then expand the best that you can to be able to understand a little more and grow and learn and all that fun stuff. So, yeah, dude, preparing for this plus having 3 kids is insane. And then I go back home and I have 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks. And then I go on tour. And then I come back from tour. And then I have to finish writing and recording the 3rd album for our band.
Right.
And then we have Christmas. And then at the top of the new year, we have another tour. So it's like, you better figure it out, dude. Right? It's make or break. It's make or break.
And you never know how long you're going to be here for.
Right.
Oh. You or anybody.
Yes. 100%.
That puts things into perspective.
Yeah. Yeah, dude.
Like time it's a finite thing.
Yeah. And you have to treat every moment like it's your last. You have to be grateful for every day. You know what? Wake up. You know what I've been doing recently?
Right.
There's a Dr. Huberman.
I know.
Yeah.
Is it Andrew Huberman? Yeah, doctor.
Man, I knew you were dope, dude. I'm on like day 7 or 8 or 9 of his concept of waking up and the first thing you do is go outside and absorb the sun. Bro, it is definitely not placebo because there's a reason why we take vitamin D. It's important. But dude, the way that it affects my day, I love coffee and I've waited an hour and a half. And I've told all my friends about this too. You know, I go outside and I start my day by doing that. I'm energized. I feel good. It's a very purposeful thing. Also, it helps me. Like, you know, I'll go outside and I'll look at the sun and I'll feel the weather. It doesn't matter if the sun is out or not. The fact that you're outside breathing something that's not in your house. You go outside, you know, depending on where you live. In Zamora, it's beautiful. Go check out the river or something and spend a little moment. Be grateful for the day. Say a little prayer. All right, let's start. That's how you start a day, dude. Too many people start their day like emails. That's so destructive.
You wouldn't do that to your best friend.
Right, exactly.
You wouldn't tell him or tell her to do that. Because you know it's not Right.
It's
Yeah,
not.
you do that to yourself.
Think about this, man. People wake up, they make a cup of coffee, and either they go sit down in their car to drive to work, or they go sit down in their office at home when they spend their whole day sitting down, and then they take a break for lunch, and then they go back and they sit down and they get up and they do it again. If you live that lifestyle, you have to give yourself something different. Start the day earlier, maybe 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and go outside and get 15 minutes of the sun or the air. Be grateful for the day, then start your day.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's impactful. Gratitude has to be practiced or you won't be grateful. You know?
Something I've found lately is like a better mood is happiness. That's what happiness is.
Oh,
it's
my
just the
God.
little mood. It's the little moment. So if you're in a better mood because you did that and you slept well or whatever, then that means kind of means you're happy.
Totally. And happiness, like in the middle of the day, you could be happy right now and then later someone does something that frustrates you and your happiness is gone. But it doesn't mean that you're not a happy person. It just means you experienced something else that affected you. So then you have to decide, okay, hold on. I'm not going to let this crush me like it should. I'm going to take a moment and think. You know, men are very bad at this. Men are like, can be very aggressive depending on testosterone levels. And, you know, they let little things affect them. This is one thing I'm grateful for martial arts is that it's helped teach me not to be, you know, overly aggressive. You know, I get that aggression out in the gym or running hills or whatever. And I can go to a place where people are going to be in that same community. And if someone yells at me, I'm not going to yell back. Or if someone, you have to think about how you react. And this connects, and not just drumming, dude, but everything in life. This is why this is more important to me than paradiddles, because the way that you play your paradiddles is dependent upon the way that you think about the world. You know? It's like, come on, dude. That's just the way it is.
That's a big thing. Big thing. I've got so many questions, man.
Dude, this is your moment.
I know.
Ask whatever you want, dude.
I've kind of asked you about hobbies.
I have a question.
Go on.
How many times have I said the word dude? Probably too many.
I mean, if that's something you say, I've got a friend that says bro a lot, and he's Spanish. So it sounds quite...
Wait, what's the equivalent? You guys say tío.
Tío.
Okay, that
in
is...
Spain.
Okay, that's like dude, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I didn't want to screw that up. You know? I didn't want to be like...
Uncle.
Yeah. Uncle. Go up to some viejita and say, tío, tía.
Tío, venga.
Yes, she
Venga.
should smack me.
Vamos, venga.
Oh, God. Okay, continue. Sorry.
So, I know you've spoken about this, but I want to mention it again. When you got into Arcaico, your band, you didn't play double pedal.
Dude, no. No, dude.
How do you prepare for that?
Dude, it sucked. I will tell you. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to give you the story. I'm going to give you the scoop. So yes, I grew up playing single pedal. Never played double bass in my life. 2017, the band essentially released its first album, which means that for that preparation, I had to go into the studio and play those double bass parts and also play them live. Okay. So when I moved to Nashville with my wife, we lived in a small apartment. So I couldn't have my drum set. I couldn't have double bass. So I had a double bass pad, but I was in an apartment. So when you go, you hear that downstairs. Dude, I would drive, I'm telling you, I would drive to like a coffee shop and I would set up outside on the patio. I don't care who would look at me. And because I knew, okay, December or whenever it was, I have to be in the studio recording these parts. And I either sacrifice what people think about me because I'm at a coffee shop with double pedals and a pedal pad, or I ruin the session. And to me, you know, the people's opinion wasn't as big, right? Now, I wasn't taking a bass drum to a coffee shop and being loud. It was a soft pad. It wasn't crazy. You know, no era un ridículo. It was normal. And then also, I would set up outside of my apartment with my car and put the pedals on the tire.
Right.
On the tire. Or use my pedal pad and push against the tire so I wouldn't move. And I would just sit out there, dude. Listen, man, if you got to get something done, you'll find a way. People find a way for everything. Or you like a girl, you want to talk to her, I bet you'll find a way. And if you don't, well, don't get mad if she marries another dude or whatever. Or you want to be a part of a school, you want to go to university, I bet you'll find a way to try to get accepted and maybe get a scholarship. If not, you didn't really care, right? Whatever it is, you want to get a job, I bet you'll find a way to nail that interview. So...
Even if you don't, because for some reason, it might not have happened for whatever reason.
Sure.
But if you think that something is going to happen and screw you, that's a worse way of feeling about it and thinking about it. if you feel positive and if you trust that you'll make it work somehow.
Yeah, totally.
That's the right mindset.
Yeah, because
I think.
You're right. Because even if it doesn't happen, you don't get the job, but you know that you went in there and you crushed and you did your best. Okay, well, that's out of your hands. Boom. And the same thing goes for drumming. You go to an audition and you do your best and you crush. And it's not like, people say, oh, I did my best. But in reality, that's just a cop-out and they're just saying they did their best. They didn't really do their best. But if you do your best and you crush and you go and you're confident and you were prepared and you don't get the gig, okay, so what? So what? That's happened to me many times. But if you know you have something coming, you have to be prepared for it. And you better figure it out somehow, some way or another. Dude, you have to figure it out. I do not allow, this is very Richie Martinez style. I do not like, it's going to be so hard because it's going to come back to bite me. I don't like excuses for drumming. Right? If you hire me to go to a show and we have a rehearsal, I'm going to show up to that rehearsal and know the songs. I'm not going to practice the songs at rehearsal. You can count on me. You call me.
I hate that.
I'm going to be there. I'm going to have it. I'll find a way. I promise I'll find a way. I don't care if you live in an apartment. I don't care if you have 3 kids. I don't care, blah, 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 blah. Now, unless you break your arms or you die or something that is completely out of your control that you cannot make it happen, okay, everyone is going to understand. But when you go to work and you're late and you say, sorry, there was traffic, traffic's not an excuse anymore. Very different. So for me, that's one of the aspects of that. Being prepared and just doing it, making it happen. I've learned songs on an airplane. If for whatever reason, I didn't have the time and I have a 3-hour flight, well, you better believe that 3-hour flight is going to be me listening to music until my brain explodes. I've done that. I've played a pad on an airplane. People are uncomfortable. I don't want people to look at me like the weirdo. I'm playing my pad. Well, those people that you don't know at the airport that are looking at you, if you don't make that gig or you don't get called back, you think they're going to help you? No. So why does it matter? Don't be ridiculous and don't be like, rakatata, frakatata, prukututu, shmakatata, right? Just do your thing. Be quaint. Don't look for attention. But yeah, dude, why do the opinions of people that aren't going to be there for you when you're failing or having a hard time matter? They really don't necessarily.
So that's the means. Do the means justify the end?
Right, and it depends on the situation. Sometimes no, sometimes yes. Sometimes no, sometimes yes. That's actually phenomenal because that phrase, do the means justify the ends, I love because I use that a lot to help me to make a decision. Think about it. Okay, is it worth it? No? Okay, move on.
Do it take long to make decisions?
Depending on the decision, yeah, totally. Because I like to think that I am sometimes overly analytical and I like to define things very particularly because I want to be able to know the ins and outs of things that are occurring. Now, what's uncontrollable is uncontrollable, but I've swallowed that pill. I don't care. I could show up here and everything's a disaster. Well, that's not my control. But yes, if you're going to make a decision, you have to make that decision to the best of your ability with as much wisdom and with as much care. And you have to really respect what you're doing. The difference between opening a peanut butter jar and preparing for a job interview is polar opposites, right? When you open up a peanut butter jar, you only think about this and then not making a mess. Boom, and then please don't make a mess, right? And then a job interview that's important, it's I won't eat food if I don't have this job. So they're polar opposites. So being malleable and determining how much you really think about a decision is crucial. It's not all the same level. And sometimes people get lost in that, And sometimes people are like, well, that was just the way that destiny had it or whatever. And it's a cop-out. It's not preparation. It's no, dude. You did not prepare. So, when people, hopefully this is related to when people say everything happens for a reason. Are you familiar with the term hot take?
Yeah.
Okay. This is a hot take. You ready for it? We're about to burn the internet.
I watch a lot of ESPN. So.
You're the man. When someone says, well, everything happens for a reason. Sometimes the reason is you're stupid. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
Sometimes the reason is you made a really dumb choice. We've all done stupid stuff. It's not like I'm speeding on the highway and then I get pulled over and I have a $400 ticket or whatever, or I get into a wreck. Well, everything happens for a reason. Yeah, that reason was you were being dumb. Not always, but people have to be very careful. That phrase, when people use words, they are either using words that are an exact and direct example of their mind and what they're thinking and what they're feeling, or they just use them. So we have to be very careful. Are you just going to speak words, or are you going to have meaning behind them? And if you're going to have meaning behind them, then think about what you're saying and doing. And, like I said, we're not perfect, so it doesn't happen all the time. But yeah, we have to, exactly like you asked, how do you know? Do the means justify the ends? Sometimes yes, sometimes no, but it's not that black and white. You have to really, really be aware and think as best as you can.
Man, I hate small talk.
Same, dude.
It's meaningless.
I agree.
I'd rather not talk.
Yeah.
Sometimes I would mention, in small talk situations, sometimes I will mention something very specific, and that other person responds to it, then I know I can have something deeper.
Because you're searching. You're searching. Like if someone has small talk with you, like you're digging and you're trying to find out about that person, but they don't respond, that must mean either A, they don't care about conversing with you, or B, they lack the skills. But most of the time is a lot of, what I hate? When you're having a conversation with someone, like let's say you just played or whatever. I'm at your show and I come to you, I'm like, yo, dude, you crushed it. That was dope. You're like, yeah, man, what's up? That was sick, right? Yeah, thanks, homie. What's your name? Cool, yeah. All right, man, I'll see you soon. ¿Quién te crees? I just came to express to you that I'm admiring your work, and you just blow me off. That's not a big that's for me, that's not okay. It's the same. It's kind of similar with small talk in many. Now, granted, if we're passing, hey, good job, boom,
obviously, yeah.
Boom. But if you're trying to be purposeful and sit with someone, very different. Because sometimes the person that is complimenting you is more successful in what you want to do, and they're bigger than you are, and they're more known than you are, and they've done more things than you are, and these are all the things that you desire. So always assume, first of all, just respect people, but always assume that everyone that you're discussing with is one call away from the person that you think would change your life.
Yes, everyone knows something you don't.
Yeah.
End of.
Dude, totally. There's something like people are intriguing. Sometimes people suck. Sometimes people are cool. And it's also like a matter of treating people with respect. We treat our drums with respect. Don't touch my snare. Don't touch my cymbals. But we don't do that to people.
Yeah.
Weird.
It's cool to get meta. I love it.
But we have to.
I also want to get practical. So I wanted to ask you for a challenge for those viewing.
Okay.
And listening. So something, it can be like drink water. It can be anything. But it's something that they have to do. To actually do.
Don't suck at your instrument.
How you do that though?
Figure it out. No, I'm still figuring it out. A challenge. Okay. I have a challenge. I have a big challenge. I have a challenge. Do I look at the cameras? What do I do with my hands?
Just tell me.
What do I do with my hands?
Anything.
No? Okay, here's a challenge because we were talking about it. I would like for everyone, from now until the day they die, this is a big challenge, bro.
It is.
Probably the biggest that we'll get.
Sounds like it.
From now until the day that you die, practice being grateful. Okay? Practice being grateful. How? Okay, let me give an example, personal example. Whenever you get a new pair of sticks, or a box of sticks, or a new cymbal, after a year, it's not new anymore, right? And so you just play it, whatever. Take a moment to look at that cymbal that you worked hard for, or that was a gift, and be grateful. Say a little prayer in the morning. Thank you, God, so much for giving me I didn't ask for the oxygen in my lungs. You, myself, tomorrow, we could be dead. That's the reality of the situation. It's a gift that you have life in you right now. So be grateful. And that doesn't have to be huge. That can be I have a new pair of sticks today, dude. I think about that all the time because I'm a fully endorsed artist. I'm a drummer that has, by the grace of God, everything provided for him because I have been given a desire and a passion to work hard, and for whatever reason, companies they have liked what I've done, and for whatever reason, people have taken sight, and that's not because I deserve it, because I don't think I deserve it, but I have worked hard to earn it. Deserving and earning are very different things. They change your heart. If you think you deserve stuff, you're gonna walk around like this. If you know that you've earned something, you're gonna walk around like this. Why? Because when you've earned something, you have a heavy weight on your shoulders from all the work that you've been carrying on your back. When you feel like you deserve something, you have no weight on your back dropping your shoulders, because people will give you what you think you deserve. Very different. When we're grateful for things, dude, I showed up and the drum set was set up for me, dude. By no means did that have to happen. I'm grateful for those things. Oh my gosh. I have new sticks. Dude, the other day, I got a big shipment of sticks, and I'm the kind of guy that saves sticks, right? I save sticks that I use because growing up, I didn't have sticks. So I'd take sticks. If I had a pair of sticks right now, I'd grab them. If they're used, I'd tap them on my head. Because when you tap a stick, this is a little trick. When you tap a stick on your head, you can hear it resonate and hear if it's like broken or not from the inside. So I'm like an idiot in my room, like ding, 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 ding. I got a new shipment of sticks. And I was like, bro, why are you saving all these destroyed sticks? You have new sticks. And I had to work it into myself to throw the old ones away. They were cracked and broken, splinters and everything. Threw them away, started from scratch. And I said, I'm so grateful for the fact that I have sticks.
Yeah, man.
Or anything, man. There are kids in countries that have no food, and I've visited these countries. I've visited third world countries because I've been fortunate enough to, and seen kids running around happy. They're not wearing shoes, and they probably don't have Wi-Fi everywhere. It doesn't matter, dude. Be grateful. Be grateful. That's my challenge. Be very grateful and practice being grateful. Start with little things. Wake up in the morning, and if you're a kid, go up to your mom and dad and say, thank you so much because I have food on the table. Thank you so much because we're poor, but you love me. Thank you so much because I don't have an Xbox, I don't have an iPad, I don't have a cell phone, but I get to eat, and because you give me hugs. If you're an adult and you have a family, call your brother, call your sister, call your wife, call your whatever, and say, man, thanks a lot for you did this for me. Or I'm just so grateful that I have a brother. We get in fights all the time or whatever, but it's so good that I have someone to share my stories with. Wake up in the morning. If you have no one in your life, I don't have anybody in my life. All right, wake up in the morning, look in the mirror and say, I have oxygen in my lungs. That's pretty dope. You have all your teeth. You have whatever, dude. It doesn't matter. Just be grateful.
Well, I'm very grateful, and I bet you are, to have you here. We are running out of time.
Yeah.
I've got our next guest. Thank you, Richie. It was
totally, man.
Very nice to talk to you.
Thanks for having me, man. That was fun.